welcome to the SaaStock How-to Series, in which we aim to answer questions posed by our community and give you 3 actionable takeaways. I'm Alex Thumer, CEO of SaaStock, which helps SaaS companies get traction, grow, and scale through our community, conferences, and content. And today, I'm joined by Clement Vouillon, founder at MemoHub. Clement, how's it going?
I'm doing very good, and yourself?
Yeah, really good, really good. Great to have you on the SaaStock How-to Series. So this question was asked this summer by our community, how to think more like VCs do. And I was really kind of wondering like who I should ask and bring on the show. I saw a video that you made on Twitter, and that kind of made me sure in terms of that you're going to be the right guy to answer this question. So on that note, how to think more like VCs do. Over to you, Clement.
And first of all, thank you very much for having me. And so, yeah, in the next 5-10 minutes, I would like to share how you can think like VC. As I say, but don't expect to be paid like one. So I'm sorry, I'm only doing one part of the deal. But anyway, so from a founder perspective, I think what is very important is kind of I see that a 3-step process. Is first, as a founder, it's very important to think about where you are in terms of the startup life cycle. And why? Because investors tend to have different framework depending on at which stage you are and what you have completed in that stage. So then once you understand where you are and that you know what are the expectations of a VC at the stage you are, then you can align what you are going you want to do in terms of funding or raising fund or other kind of activity that you want to do with VCs. And how do I see this cycle? So basically I decompose the startup life cycle into 4 different stages. The first stages being the hypothesis stages. So basically it's when you start, you have a business plan, you have some mock-ups, some ideas about your product, what you want to build for a solution, the customers that you're going to go after. It's only ideas. And at that stage, if you want to raise money, so it's very hard, first of all, and what do the investors want to see and what they are betting on. So this is the part where you should put always yourself in the shoes of an investor. It's basically 2 things. If they are going to give money to either like proven entrepreneurs. So if you have a serial entrepreneur and successful one, or that you have a very high profile, let's say that you are exec at, I don't know, Facebook, Microsoft or whatever, then you can raise obviously money easily. And the second big aspect is to be on a very hot market. For example, it happened, I saw a couple of years ago, a lot of deals that were funded at that stage in the blockchain space, for example. So if you don't have these 2 things, forget about it, it will be very hard. Then there's the stage which I call the validation stage, where the most early stage founders are. And basically you have this hypothesis stage, you have this idea, and now you need to go and confront the market and start building your solution. Why do I call it the validation stage? Because you need to validate basically 3 things before you get to a product market fit later. So you need to validate the market, the product, and the marketing. The market, what does it mean? You need to validate that you are building a real solution for a real problem. Basically, that you have tackling a must-have problem and that people are ready to pay for it. You need to validate that you can build a product. So what does it mean? It means that you need to build a product that people want to test, they want to use, and they keep using. So you are not building a leaky bucket. And you need to validate the marketing as well, meaning that even if you have these 2 components, it's also great to validate that you know how to attract and where to acquire your users. So basically you have these 3 components, and the way that it's very important to think about these 3 components is that it's not a binary state. It's not like, okay, the market is validated or not, or the product is validated or not. No, it's a lot of little increments. So for example, the market, you need to validate first that, yeah, are the people interested in my solution? Do I understand the pain points? Then are they ready to pay for it? Same for the product. You have to validate first that can you attract users to sign up on your platform? Once they sign up, can you create some usage around it? Like, are they really using it? And then there's the retention part. So basically acquisition, validation, and retention. And same for the marketing. Before you say that you can validate marketing, you need to understand where do you acquire your customers? How do you speak to them? How do you market your product and your value proposition? So this is all little incremental things. And why do I speak about this? It's because at that stage, so that the second part, what do VC expect? They expect that you validate these different components. And too often, the founders, they will try to raise money when they are too early in the validation cycle. And obviously, the earlier you are in these little increments and the harder it is to convince the VC, because the VC will need to do a lot of work, of thinking works in terms of betting on your vision. Okay, is this team capable of validating the product, the market? Is there a real market? Are they capable of doing the distribution part? So this is why the more validation you have, and the better it is, because it will be easier to convince the investor. And think about what the investor want to see. So the more elements that you bring to them, and the easier you make the decision for them to make. So this is why it's very important at that stage to think about in terms of validation, what you have validated so far, and what can you validate without VC money, because ideally you don't want to raise too early, you want to raise later. And just to give you an example, this validation stage, there's no length. It can be like, it can take you 6 months. If you stumble upon a great idea, you put a mock-up, a lot of people are interested, you start to build a first product, and then everyone is crazy about it. It will take you 6 months. But I know some founders, it takes them 18 months, 2 years before they can really validate it, because they build something, but they cannot, for example, generate retention on their product. So this is why it's very important to think in terms of validation, what you did and what you want to do, what you can validate without VCs, to suggest that to the VCs once you raise. And the higher you are in the funnel, and the better it is for you. Then once you have validated these 3 things, you have what we call a product market fit. And a product market fit, the first thing that I want to be clear about, it's not about a certain growth rate or revenue, level of revenue. Very often we tell me in SaaS, yeah, when am I at product market fit? Because I have 5K of MRR, 20, 50, or whatever. No, you have product market fit when you have validated the 3 stuff that I spoke about before. So basically that you validated that there's a need, so people are ready to pay for your product, that you have a product that has retention, and that you know a little bit how you can retain your result. So basically, if you are making 5K of revenue per month because you have 5 happy customers paying you 1,000 per month, but you don't have high revenue growth or this kind of stuff, you do have a product market fit. So all of that to say that what do the investors expect at that stage? They are betting on the fact that your PMF can scale. So if you have a 5K MRR startup, the bet that they want to do and to make is, can you become a 10 million ARR or MRR company? Can you become a 50 million, etc.? So how do you do that? You can take the same thing that we did before. You can look at your product market fit at a market, from a market point of view. So can your market scale? Basically, do you have room to build a big company? From the product point of view, do you have room for a VC that you can show him that you build a product which is defensible and potentially have some moats, product moats, because it's ideally it's a good situation for the VC. And marketing, can you scale your acquisition? Because very often distribution is a little bit overlooked. And if you can bring some validation that's, okay, we are there maybe at 5K or whatever amount of revenue per month, but we can reach that stage because we understood acquisition and we can double down on that. So basically the PMF stage is really about, when you think in terms of VC, think about your PMF and how can you scale your PMF, and which leads us to the later stage, which I will not cover, because I guess if you are at that stage, you don't really need us, and it's all other problematic, like for example, to build the exec team, to go international and this kind of stuff, road to the IPO. So it's not something that you will get answer from a 10-minute video, but basically it's what the investor at the growth scale will expect from you. So basically, to sum it up, the 3 key takeaway from this presentation is, try, very important, to see in this cycle where you are, to be clear about it and honest about it, and then when you know where you are, what can you do with or without VC money? If you can go a little bit further, that's a good thing. And if you cannot do with VC money, align your expectation in terms of funding with what we just saw. So don't try, for example, to raise 5 million. I mean, you can try, but it will be very hard to raise 5 million euros if you are at the early stage of the validation stage, where you haven't validated so many things. Whereas if you are at the later stage, it will be easier.
Awesome. Well, Clement, thank you so much for sharing that with the SaaStock community. Really appreciate it. Where can people find you online?
They can find me on Twitter, so Clement, C-L-E-M-N-T, so without the last E at the end. I was too late for that on Twitter. And they can find me also on memohub.io, so memo and hub and .io.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks so much for answering the question today, Clement Vouillon, founder at MemoHub.
Thank you very much, Alex. Cheers, guys.